Happy New Year to all of our fantasy hockey heads. You're tapped right back into your daily source for fantasy hockey news in 2025. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with everything that you need to know from around the NHL, including a regular segment of Who Would You Rather Own with two of the biggest fantasy pieces in the game. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a new year, but the same dedication applies to our fantasy hockey teams on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Happy 2025, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to your daily source for fantasy hockey, NHL news, and daily betting breakdowns. We are happy to be here, and shout out to the everydayers. Even in a brand new year, Steele, I can feel it. They're going to be making us their first listen every single day. Steele and I will continue to be here Monday through Friday, even through the holidays. It's been a bit spotty, but Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning, you can find us. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and drop us a 5-star written review wherever y'all at. The feedback means the world to both Steele and I. And I just wanted to say, Steele, you know, I've been going through a lot personally. I see you guys out there dropping the comments. I appreciate the support, even the chirps from my mustache. I appreciate that as well. All very, very appreciated. Look, we got a lot to get to on today's episode. We're going to keep it short and sweet, even though injury bug across the NHL, Gostisbehere, Mason Marchment, Jake Guentzel, we'll talk about it. We're also going to get back to a classic segment of Who Would You Rather with two big studs, big-time bets. Over to you, my friend. I don't know who you want to start with. Gostisbehere, Guentzel, Marchment, wherever you want to go. There's impact for each of these players to be had.
Yeah, some very serious injuries that will have major implications on your fantasy hockey team in the new year. Not as concerning for Jake Guentzel, so let's start there with him. He did leave the game in that 6-2 win over the New York Rangers. He missed the Lightning's next game against the Montreal Canadiens, where they lost 5-2. So as of right now, he is just day to day. There's not too much concern with him missing a lot of time or missing the next week at least. But as of right now, it's just day to day with Jake Guentzel. So that's a spot that you're going to need to fill for the time being until he gets back in action.
What's interesting about this Tampa Bay Lightning team, Steele, is especially Guentzel started somewhat quiet and have come on like a house of fire. This is a team now sitting second in the NHL in goals for at 134, only 3 back of the Winnipeg Jets, and we know how much attention that Winnipeg team has got. So the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning are not getting the credit that they deserve, also, they are a plus 37 goal differential, Steele. That's best in the Eastern Conference. So I think they've actually been an underrated team and one that's been somewhat unlucky in terms of their overall standing. However, they're lurking. And you and I have spoken about this. Maybe in the fantasy game, the Vasilevskis, the Hedmans of the world over the last couple of years have been up and down, somewhat injury, age, whatever, but their quality on the ice. And then again, this season, their fantasy stock back rising. Jake Guentzel, we got to mention it. We'll be back every Monday to make sure that you guys have the players to plug and play. For now, Guentzel, less of a concern because of that day-to-day. 2 players that are more of a concern. Shane Gostisbehere has been a very valuable piece, Steele. And once again, 27 points this season through 35 games, 6 goals and 21 assists for this Carolina team. I don't know what your take is on this because the Carolina Hurricanes can ill afford even a team that hangs its hats on the D end in the blue line. I'm just a little bit concerned about this quote from Rod Brind'Amour. More than day to day is always a bit of a dubious kind of description. So what's your take on Shane Gostisbehere, the Hurricanes, or what you think you would do with a player like this? He's got to hit the IR on your team, stash him, and hope that he's back sooner than later.
Yeah, it's a huge loss for fantasy owners out there who drafted Ghost or who picked him up off the waiver wire potentially. And this leaves a massive opportunity for those same owners and others out there to potentially pick up a defenseman from Carolina who's going to be quarterbacking that power play. And I think that's where I really want to look at this and take the angle of special teams, because like you said, he's been fantastic this season, but a lot of his points, majority of his points actually come on the man advantage. 27 points, like you said, on the season, 18 have come on the power play. he has gone down a little bit of a skid through his last 7. Only 2 points in his last 7. I believe both one came on the power play at least. So I think this leaves an opportunity for other defensemen in Carolina to really step up, because as of right now, he will be out for a while, according to Brindamore, like you said. So he's going to be out for some time. So in that same breath, guys like Brent Burns, who I think is going to get a lot of opportunity on that first power play. You could, as of right now, I believe it's actually Ty Smith who's projected to be quarterback in that first
which
power
is
play
interesting
for Carolina. Very interesting. I could also see potentially throwing in Orlov if things aren't going according to plan with the the mixture. I think there's going to be a few guys that get a good look on the power play for Carolina.
Brett is
the name I'm definitely circling. He's owned at 52% on Yahoo. I believe it's around the same on ESPN as well. And then for Dmitry Orlov and especially Ty Smith, both those guys will be rostered below 25%. So there's a few options out there while Ghost is recovering from this injury, because he's going to be out for quite some time.
Look, I know Ty Smith has not lived up to the hype of a 17th overall draft pick from 2018. Totally understand that. But at this point, given the overall relative quality of this team and how much offensive opportunity Gostisbehere was having, I really don't care who it is. I'm going to be taking a little look at whoever is going to fill that role. I think that's the fantasy takeaway here. The Canes are a good club. And if someone's going to get an opportunity to quarterback that, and right now it's looking like Ty Smith on the top unit, hey, am I immediately running out there and sacrificing a spot for Ty Smith? No, I'm not. But if I need some D-love or I have an open one, this is one that I would be considering. We'll talk a little bit more about Mason Marchment right after the break, along with Who Would You Rather, big time bets coming up. We're keeping today short, sweet, and to the point. We hope that we've been helping you dominate these fantasy leagues and put a little bit of money in that betting pocketbook. Where you can continue to stack that money is with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs, they're looming, and it's not too late to get in on one more week of regular season action steal with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. So many ways on FanDuel to pick up that W. Not only can you bet on who wins, FanDuel also has you covered on bets for which players score tutties, how many points will be scored in a game, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen in the new year, 2025.
Hey.
We're getting after it. Thank you so much. Make sure you continue to hammer that subscribe button, follow button, and leaving a 5-star review. Share with your friends and family out there. And like Flip said, how you couldn't start the new year better with that FanDuel offer, $250 in bonus bets. So we're going to be getting after it on big time bets January 1st later in this episode. Real quickly before we get to the Who Would You Rather, Mason Marchment news as well. Considered week to week with an upper body injury after he was struck in the face by a puck in Friday's game against the Minnesota Wild. He also has been he's been very ice cold in his last 7 games, going pointless. He's now injured. Is there any opportunity for other players in Dallas to step up in his absence? It's a little bit tough with that top 6 being really solidified right now. But there's a few options for Dallas or other players out there with Mason Marchment's injury.
And I think you're going to see a little bit of a shuffling of the lines, perhaps maybe in the bottom 6, to kind of see what the Dallas Stars can do here. Because Mason Marchment was somewhat cold over the last little while, I'm not so much concerned about that need for fantasy GMs. I'm sure there's a lot of people that got away from this player. However, Jamie Benn had a really good night the other night. That Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnson situation, the only angle that I kind of see jump off the page here, Steele, is maybe those 3 players eat some more minutes over the foreseeable future, and a line that's already clicking. Maybe you want to go out there and get a piece of that. That's kind of how I'm looking at that right now. Also, Logan Stankoven slides down with Maverick Bourque and Oscar back on that third line. I don't know what that really means. So this is how I'm looking at this. Mason Marchment has been a streaky performer at the best of times. Right now, he was cold, so the injury is one thing that I'm not so concerned about in terms of like that week-to-week stream. We'll see what happens, though. The Dallas Stars, Once he comes back, he'll be slotted right back into that lineup. Now, you and I, who would you rather? These ones kind of have, for the most part, I feel like there's been a good angle for each of us to take. We throw a lot of names at each other because this is a conversation in the fantasy game that happens all the time. I want this guy over that guy. I think this person is better than that. Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, over to you, how and who you're looking at, Steele. I have two clear angles here, but I don't know if we've ever had as evenly a match of a who would you rather than these two players at this point in their career. Over to you for your take on this, though, because I got a couple of points to throw your way.
Look, we're splitting hairs when we're talking about who would you rather with Kucherov and Draisaitl, some of the best players in the game right now, actually, both top 3 in points currently.
Neck
and
and
again,
neck.
Splitting hairs, like I said, the stats are so similar. It's incredible. 55 points for Draisaitl, 54 for Kucherov. The plus minus, both plus in double digits. Power play points, 23 for Draisaitl, 22 for Kucherov. 110 shots for Draisaitl, 111 for Kucherov. So they're very, very similar with their stats. However, I'm going to go with the playmaker in Kucherov, and that's really what it comes to for me. You can either take the goal scorer or you can take the playmaker. I love Kucherov's ability to just facilitate for his teammates out there. Obviously, Leon Draisaitl has been a juggernaut on the power play. So has Kucherov for many, many years now. For me, it just comes down to being able to have that puck on your stick and make those incredible plays that Kucherov has been able to do countless times again. I feel like obviously with Draisaitl, and this is not a shot at him, but it's really Connor McDavid who has the puck on his stick and is making those plays in the offensive zone, especially on the man advantage, 5-on-5. Draisaitl is just kind of hanging out over by the faceoff. Hey, he's picking corners out there.
Oh, my guy's just hanging out.
He's hanging out there. He's waiting for Connor McDavid to throw him that puck. I'm not taking any shots here. Look, splitting hairs, like I said. But for me, I'm going with Kucherov. He's been so amazing over the last 2 to 3 years, fantasy wise. Again, there's not really much you can debate with these two guys. I just feel more comfortable with Kucherov.
I think this is one of those situations where after 144 points for Kuch last season, that might be one of those cases where if we're talking in the fantasy realm of an angle of what player over what, it's very impressive that Draisaitl even holds water in this conversation because the guy who's coming off 144 points, I think my sister who's never played a fantasy hockey minute in her life would go, clearly it's that guy, but it's not, in my opinion. And look, this is the angle here that I need to highlight. Leon Draisaitl in the fantasy dynasty side has 2 years less of age on his body. However, when you mention the similarities and the splitting hairs, that also goes down to their career numbers, Steele, almost down to the dot. No, it's very scary. So you got both of these guys. So Kucherov, he has 757 games played in the NHL. He has 927 career points. Draisaitl, 755 career games played, 905 points. And the peripherals are very similar. My two angles are the age, and I know you gave a little bit of shade towards him hanging out, but I'm fine if my fantasy piece who puts up what he does is hanging out with Connor McDavid. So those are two things, and I know you could easily say he's got Guentzel in point, and that ain't too bad either, but I'm going to take the age, and I'm going to take the fact that he is going to continue to crush it with Connor McDavid and these Edmonton Oilers. I guess I would kind of leave it at this. After the next couple of seasons in Tampa Bay, and I know there's some contracts up. There's going to be a lot happening. I see the Edmonton Oilers perhaps having a little bit more of a prolonged shot at winning with the core that they have. Don't quote me on all the numbers in Tampa Bay, but Vasilevsky's age, Hedman's age, maybe there's also something to be said because, you and I say this a lot, fantasy gold mines, you want to catch a piece of them. Maybe the Oilers have a little bit more longevity there. I don't know if I'm off the mark, though.
Yeah, it's tough to say, and obviously it all depends if Connor McDavid stays in Edmonton. We know his contract's coming up. Throwing a little, a man can wish out here. Maybe he comes back to Toronto. Who knows? I'm just kidding, but
I'm down.
Yeah, no, it is. Again, he's hanging out with the best player in the world, Connor McDavid. He does what he does on the power play. He scores goals. That's what he does for a living. It's incredible to watch. Again, both the top 3 fantasy players right now in the game. Draisaitl and Kucherov being both in the top 3. Again, you could go either way. There's no right or wrong answer here. You're winning no matter who you choose. We just want to know who you would choose out there. Would you
Exactly.
rather choose Nikita Kucherov or Leon Draisaitl for your fantasy
Let us
hockey
know.
team? Let us know in the comments below. Leave your opinions and statements on YouTube as well and on Twitter. We're going to get to big time bets very, very shortly. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. If you're like Flip and I and love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy, then Game Time is the app for you. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy, the excitement, it was unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming Maple Leafs game using Game Time app, and with Game Time Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before purchasing the ticket. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. The best part, when I won, I got paid instantly. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen in the new year 2025. So much possibility. You can really just be reborn. You can do whatever you like. You want to do. Put your mind to it. You can do
I like
whatever
this.
you
This is
out
the
there.
Steel Zen. I like it.
This is the Sens deal. Guru Steel. That's what I do when we get into big time bets. I'm getting ready, getting into the right mindset. Only one game on the new year, January 1st. The New Jersey Devils taking on the LA Kings. And like you and I have talked about before, this is somewhat of an interesting situation. Again, going into the new year 2025, only one game on the schedule. This might be a time just to kind of hang back, watch the game, dial it back, watch the game for fun. We're going to still give you some options out there if you want to play some bets on this game. Over to you, my friend. Where are you looking first?
I can't have an opportunity to only talk about the LA Kings and not talk about Hans Kopitar. Yeah. I think after Sidney Crosby anytime assist, Connor McDavid 2+ points, Hans Kopitar anytime point, probably right up there at the top of the bets that I like to make. And when it's a same game parlay, I'm okay with probably you're going to have to lay -190, maybe -200 with Hans Kopitar here in this situation, especially when he has 39 and 36 and he's coming off a beautiful two-goal performance to take his team over the top against the Philadelphia Flyers. So first pick and lock of the night, because I'm just that fired up about Hans Kopitar. Hans Kopitar anytime point, Kings money line, and I'm going to take the over 6.5 here.
Okay.
This is a spot that I know that the New Jersey Devils have been playing some pretty sound hockey, and I actually think most of the numbers have tilted towards the under, but those are the angles that I'm taking. I think there's a side bet coming up here, given your reaction. The LA Kings have been playing good hockey since they've come back from the break. I know that's only 2 games, Oilers and the Flyers, but I'm liking it, and those are the 3 picks. Same game parlay, Kings money line over 6.5, and get me with the Copes anytime point.
Love the anytime point from Anze Kopitar because that goes well with my first pick. Adrian Kempe, your boy, anytime goal. He has been a little bit cold in his last 5. He did score against those Philadelphia Flyers, only 1 in his last 5, but I'm feeling the Adrian Kempe anytime goal alongside that anytime point / assist, because that's who's going to be getting the helper for Kempe's goal on Wednesday. First pick, Adrian Kempe, anytime goal. I'm also with you taking the Kings on the money line. Again, it's been 50-50 between the Devils, Devils and the Kings over the last 10 games. I like the Kings at home in this instance. Kings money line, second pick. First side bet on the first day of the new year. I will be taking the under 6.5 in this matchup. 8 out of the last 10 have gone under the number. I'm following the history here, keeping it simple. I am just going to say I will not be betting. These are just my favorite picks for Monday. These are my favorite options, but I'm going to be dialing it back and I'm just going to be watching the game for a change. I'm going to be watching hockey,
you feeling
not sweating.
Okay?
Yeah, not sweating. I don't want to be
Yeah.
sweating going
Okay.
into the new year with these bets, but those are my favorite picks. Kings money line, under 6.5, and the Kempe anytime goal.
And you know what? We got to start tracking these properly. There's going to be a
We
whole lot
do.
more. There's going to be a whole lot more of accountability in 20. That's my key word for this pod, Steele, for the new year.
New Year's
Accountability.
resolution.
Me setting lineups, me being accountable, us being accountable to side bets. Look, let's get it. Been a lot going on, but we won't stop covering what you guys need to know in 30 minutes, Monday through Friday. That's what you get here, in and out. And of course, we'll finish it off with bets every single day. Much love to you, Steele, for holding me down over the last few weeks. Much love to everyone out there, to my family. I appreciate it. Let's start this new year big, and let's have a big year on and off the ice, baby.
We appreciate you. We love you. And we thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day, especially today in the new year. Make sure for your second listen, though, you go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. The link is in the description below, so you don't have to go searching for it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From both Flip and I, we wish you good luck with your weekly matchups, with your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.